Hello, it's time for Lay Back with Betfair. I'm Tom Haylock, joined by Dave Strehlau. The Sults, the great man. What a weekend we've got. We've got Caulfield Cup, the Everest. It's all happening. It's torrential rain here in Melbourne. How are you, Sults?
It's about time it rained, and we need the rain for the farmers as well. And we
The
need the
old
rain
farmers.
so it's green in summer and the back end of spring so it's beautiful. So, hey, we can't be against the heavens opening up every now and then. We've had a lot less rain than up north, so we can't complain too much.
No, the Sydney Siders will have a way to bag us for it. But anyway, we're probably on a heavy 10, bottomless at Caulfield. I can't wait to touch on that. We've got plenty of group racing. The Everest doesn't take away from what a great Caulfield Cup carnival it's been and what a great Caulfield Cup it's going to be. You want to start with the lay bin this week, mate? You got anything for me?
I do. I'm going to lay fake trade accounts and fake football accounts on Twitter, and I got
Fake ones?
absolutely nailed yesterday by this one. So there's a fake one of Collingwood, right? And instead of it's literally exactly the same, but instead of the two L's, they've just done capital I's. So the handle and everything's the same. But I got stitched up by this one by Cal Toomey, who's a journalist at the AFL.
Yes.
This fake account, it's exactly the same as the other one, looks exactly the same, and tweets. So Henry and 16 has gone to Geelong, pick 7 to Collingwood. I get in my group chats with the boys and I'm like, boys, what a deal. Graham Wright. Oh, all hail Wrighty. He's just absolutely killing it this trade period. And they're like, for real? And I'm like, nah, morons. I just made it up and came at you with information. And I got real defensive and sarcastic. And then it turned out I just got sucked into a fake account. And yeah, so what sort of life are you living that you make that account and then just try and suck people in for misinformation? Like, what do you get out of that?
I hope they watch the show and are taking it very seriously and laughing at this.
They're getting what they want, but they're absolute losers.
Can I put the obviously a Betfair show, but can I put the Quaddy sub roll in the bin? Now, the reason for this, everyone likes a Quaddy. Doesn't matter who you bet with. If you like Quaddies, I'm a Quaddy fan. I had a Quaddy at Caulfield on Wednesday. Had field, favourite, which was economics, field into roots. So I've ended up.
You got 2 subs.
I put the Quaddy on literally 10 minutes before the race 6.
Yeah.
I got 2 subs that I had one out, so I was cheering for horses I didn't want to be with.
Yeah.
And I just did it for fun, just for a bit of fun. The first leg paid $40 odd. Actually paid 85s on Betfair, if you don't mind. We'll get to that a bit later.
And you fielded it?
Yeah, fielded. So fielded the first leg.
Yeah. Was that a session?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So put field, I thought economics was a good thing. Once Grease came out, once the rain.
Once he started playing up, though, behind the barriers, I was pretty happy he got scratched because he looked like he was going to be a bit of a keen doofus.
That's always the way.
Yeah.
You don't want him to get vetted and run last, do you? It's nothing worse. That should be the lay bid.
Yeah.
But I got there to the last leg. I had Foxy Frida, who I assumed was going to be the sub. It was favourite. But I couldn't lay off on Betfair because I didn't know what the percentage was. I couldn't confirm the sub. I didn't know what dividend I was going to get.
So the sub wasn't confirmed right at
it's not
time.
Oh, no, maybe but you can't
Close
lay off.
enough. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I don't know what the dividends were because it hasn't equated for the sub.
Yeah. Did Foxy Freed end up being the sub?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
But
yeah.
I couldn't hedge. So I had 100% of the Quaddy going for, it said 2,500.
Yeah.
But I couldn't hedge at all.
You had no idea. Yeah.
It could have paid 200 after everyone got it because it was sub roll with all the scratches. So I just anyway.
It's obviously not easy.
It's not easy.
It's obviously not easy, but I don't have a solution. But I love whinging about things and not providing solutions. It's a great pastime.
That's what the lay bin's
mate.
for, mate. Correct. I want to put Halloween in the lay bin.
Ooh.
I'm old and grumpy.
Yeah.
I just don't see the point of Halloween.
No,
we're not America. I don't care.
Well, I forget that it happens, and then someone knocks on the door, and you're like, oh, who's this? Not another autograph. And then you realise you've got no
just
lollies.
Me again, Sults.
You've got no lollies because why would I keep that stuff in my house when I'm trying to stay trim and terrific?
Look at you. There's no way you'd have lollies in the house.
Trim and terrific. I'm not having any Allens in this house, mate. I'll give them an orange or something.
You should. Give them an apple.
Yeah, beat it. Something with a razor blade in it.
Halloween is in the label. Halloween.
They do that in America.
Oh,
put razor blades in them. Well, they had that in our strawberries over here, so
that's
that can go in the label.
Nails?
Razor blades.
Was it nails or?
No, it was blades. Oh, it was the needles.
Needles.
Yeah, needles in strawberries can get in the label.
Jesus. All right,
Yeah.
let's get stuck into some serious stuff. Holloway, Laban for me. Old and grumpy.
it.
Don't need that. Caulfield, heavy 10, bottomless? Is that where
Yeah,
you're going?
well, it's raining all day as well
Thursday,
today.
yeah.
Yeah, the rail's gone true, and now 6. But, you saw
They were running on the 6 metres out on Wednesday.
Yeah,
Came off the
and
fence.
they wanted to get off that. So they'll be coming from everywhere on Saturday.
Yeah, and J-Mac just cut the corner. We'll touch on that as well.
Yeah, geez, he got a nice slowdown from him. Well, Dwayne Dunn's been really good in his post-race assessments on .com.
Has he?
He hates mid-race slowdowns. It
Oh,
sort of
good.
played into the hands of J-Mac, and he cut the corner and just said, see you later, and that Sydney form sort of sent us packing.
How about Saturday with Old Flame, that slowdown? They just dropped anchor massively.
Oh, no. Follow Morvada when he gets to Flemington off that slowdown
that's
because
right.
that was smelly.
Can I add another thing before we get to race 7, the Group 2? Did you catch the comments of Zach Purton regarding James McDonald?
Yeah, I did.
Thoughts?
I did. Well, he'd want to have a big old castle if he's still paying off a mortgage, J-Mac. I think he's got a few
How about the
mortgages. I
comment?
think he's finished off a few mortgages, J-Mac. But
I
would you
found that
rather
very
earn more
amusing.
money and open your door in the morning and see daisies and flowers and open pastures
live in-
than open your door and be involved
locked
in a
out?
bit of a smog fest?
Yeah, I don't know, but I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, it was a bit of tongue in cheek.
I
It
thought
was good
very
though.
amusing.
It's
I'm not
easy to
bagging.
say after you've ridden 7 from 9, and you're calling yourself Moneybags Purton.
He's
I'm pretty sure he didn't call himself that. But
I always had a massive opinion of Zach in terms of his riding ability. He's a freak. Let's get to race 7, Group 2, McCafe Sprint, 1,000 metres. I'm a Dragonstone here, Sults, and you seem to be against me, and I can't wait to hear why, but I'll go first. A few queries. Generation on a heavy. Malkovich on a heavy. Oxley Road was playing last starts. Gets tongue tie on. Can improve.
He's
done.
he's gone.
I guess tongue tie on. Can spark improvement. He's
He
won his
won a
debut on a
joke
heavy
on it.
track. Watch the market for Express Pass. Got talent. The stable love a bet.
Yep.
Carlos has upside off a win. Harder here, but gets Jamie Carr on. But I'm with Dragonstone. 1,000 metres suits him perfectly. His trial, absolutely enormous.
Was a doozy, and the shades were on.
I don't think he's at his best on a wet track, but I don't think any of
I
these
think
horses
he got.
are.
I think he got falsely pigeonholed as a wet tracker, but his best ever run was before the spell on top of the ground.
Yeah. I agree. So he gets blinkers on first time, as you said. He had him on the trial. Loved it. Loved the piece of work. He maps a little bit tricky, but he's the one I want to be with here. I think he can probably angle off the fence, or if he wants to, he can do a J-Mac and come along the inside and find ground on Dragonstone, Timmy Clark. So
Well, you know who loves a hit and run down here? Josh Parr. He comes down here and just rides winners, and then goes back and doesn't get the rides that he should.
no, he's not a
Talented
bad jockey.
jockey.
Good front running jockey, but
Yeah.
he's on Malkovich, who'll probably roll forward on. Bit of speed. Who do you like, mate?
Mate, is Josh Parr or Malkovich?
Parr's on Malkovich.
Oh, sorry.
Tim Clark's on.
Timmy Clark.
Very
sorry.
similar.
Got that
style
wrong.
jockeys.
Got that wrong.
I didn't know where you were going with that.
Generation with the heavy, you queried, but I backed him first up in the Heath where he was outstanding, rode a fast tempo. That was on the back of running a 10:32 at the Cranbourne jump outs on a heavy 9 or 10.
Beat away game there.
It was.
Well up the way game there.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I don't think that's a query for him. Personally, I'm staying out of the race. The case I can make against Dragonstone is the map, because Malkovich is drawn inside, and then you look out, which means that he lands on the rail. He can't land anywhere else because nothing inside's going to kick up and hold him off. And then there's so much speed around him. I can't see him getting anywhere but second last defence.
Yep.
And that's an issue for me at the price. I think on talent and the way he's trialled and those blinkers going on, he looks ripe to go. And a hot speed will probably suit, but how much will it suit in terms of how far he's going to get back? Can they cut the corner like J-Mac did in the Guineas
With the rail
on
out 6.
Wednesday, or is it just a no-go zone? So at this stage at the price, I'd be happy to leave him.
Yep, no, you make a fair point. I just think he's good enough to win this. He brings good form. He's good fresh, and I loved his trial. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go so fast that he can actually angle off anyway, because there's a clump in front of him and he can work off the fence if he goes that way. But anyway, that's race 7. Race 8 is the Tristark, the Group 2. Fantastic race for the mares. Which way are you siding?
I'm going to follow up with Pride of Jenny. She handles a wet track, so I don't think that's going to be a major issue. She was really good at Caulfield 2 back, ran a career peak, and then she was heavily backed in that Rose of Kingston at Flemington last start, 1,400 metres, and blew the start when she was a mapped leader.
Over after that.
And then they went slow.
All
So,
over.
and considering she'd settled in the running line off midfield, and she's a leader. She actually worked through the line super. So Jamie Carr goes on. She's only had 2 rides on Pride of Jenny for 2 wins earlier in the career. And the wide barrier, I don't see an issue from the 1,400 metre start at Caulfield. When you're drawing wide, you have to go forward. Obviously, she wants to go forward, but there's no other real noted leader. So I think Jamie, she's got a great ability to have the soft hands and to get horses to jump and work for her. So I'm happy to follow up with Pride of Jenny. Another one I want to follow up with from backing last start when she was knocked off at Flemington 1,400 metres by Kiss on all 4 cheeks is a mare by the name of Flying Mascot. And her preparation this time in, the stable noted that she's just been behind. They're trying to get her ready for a run over the mile, over the carnival at Flemington. And she's a mare that sort of does her best work earlier in the preparation. So they were trying to get her to peak later in the prep, which they haven't done in the past. And she was just a run short last start at Flemington and sat up on speed and faded. They've gone back to the drawing board. They're giving her 4 weeks off and they're going to the jump outs, 1,000 metres at Penshurst on a heavy track. And she's got no wet track form, but I think she gets through it. All her jump outs this prep have been on really heavy tracks and they've been good. And the day she won dominantly at Moonee Valley. It says soft 5, but it was a bit softer than that and she skipped through it. I think that they would have caught up with her fitness-wise now, and I think she'll be ready to run a race, Flying Mascot.
So many queries on Saturday regarding some of these horses. They might get through it. We had this chat last week about wet tracks. Some of them might get through it, but you don't know until they're tested. So it's about what price you're willing to take. Could run last.
The mares race, the Alingi, we're not going to look at that, but half the field that's in the market are dry trackers.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. You just don't know. You have to go to breeding, which a few people pointed out on socials, which isn't a bad strategy. I am having a Tommy 3 play here.
Ooh.
Tommy 3 play. I think Palazzo brings best form into the race, gets through the wet. I think she does.
Okay.
Same. That's a query.
Yeah,
it's a query, but I think she does. I don't really have too much to base that on, but I just happy to back her in if she's here.
Skippy action.
If months
without cover last start.
Good run, great run. I think it's the best form race. Papali came from that race and went awful, but she's a mare that when she's at her best, she's got ability. She ran third in that group.
Wasn't she good in that race and then awful in the Epsom?
Yes,
I think that's 100%.
what. Yeah, she was awful in the Epsom. Yeah. I just think she's very hit and miss. Her best is good enough to run well. She's $50 here. I'm having something on her.
Well, she goes all right on wet tracks. She won at Newcastle on a wet track.
Correct. She ran second in the Hawkesbury Gold Crown on a heavy track. Yep. She gets through the wet. Her best is good enough. If she replicates that run in the Golden Pendant and she's a wet tracker, she's massive value here.
Well, she's the one. She'll tag Pride of Jenny, I reckon.
Yep.
She'll sit on the leader's back.
Yep. So I've got her in the mix at a massive price. And the other one's Mirror Vision. Now, she's a mare. If there is a doubt on Palazzo getting through the wet, it's Papali and Mirror Vision who come through that Sydney form, which is good form. Mirror Vision was good first up in that race, only beaten 2 lengths, can improve off the back of that. I don't think she minds the wet tracks. I know you go through a form line and the stats say she doesn't, 4 starts for 1 second, but you go through it. We're talking about beaten by Forbidden Love on heavy tracks and stuff like that. That's A-grade form. I think she does actually handle it all right. So
she needs to recapture some form from maybe
she does.
15 months
I thought she was trialling okay before that Golden Pendant. She was only betting 2 there. I thought she stuck on it, and that's the right form for me. So Tommy 3 play with the 3 Sydney-siders, Palazzo, Mirror Vision and Papali. Let's move to the Group 1 Caulfield Cup. What a race this is. Sults, huge queries on a lot of runners on a bottomless track. Who knows what to make of this race? Which way are you leaning, or do you want to talk about the map first?
Well, there's not a great deal of speed.
No.
In the race.
You've got Knight's Order.
Whatsoever.
Charlie Rose can roll forward, Smoke and Romans. So
who gets the exact same run as they copped last start?
Smoke and Romans.
Smoke and Romans, mate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Benson and Hedges.
So does Knight's Order can roll across.
Am I allowed to say that? No.
Oh, I don't know. We can now.
Don't smoke.
Numerian can put a bit more pressure on, but I'm
not sure he's going to run out the trip as well.
On a wet track? Yeah, I agree. So Smoke and Romans...
Knight's Order went too slow in the turnbull.
He's a plugger. He's a plugger. He needs to roll hard.
Tim Clark gets back on. He'll roll hard again.
Tim Clark's the best rider of on-speed horses in Australia.
And we know he gets through the ground and he won a Sydney Cup 3,200 metres, so no doubts on that. So the map, there's not a great deal of speed, so I think Smoke and Romans is the map horse because Knight's Order works across from a wide draw. If a couple of others want to roll forward, Jamie just smokes the pipe and slots right in behind. In a negative scenario. She doesn't want to end up outside the leader, but
Nah,
she can just tuck right in behind. And with that weight drop, he looks like an easy bet to have because
I said a couple of weeks ago on the show he's not a
Yeah.
Group 1 Turnbull horse.
yeah. But you know what's
He could be a Group 1
Yeah.
Caulfield Cup horse.
I think what can happen is, and I've been guilty of this myself, is because through the last 2 years, we're used to Smoking Romans winning a Pakenham Cup, runner-up in a Bendigo Cup, winning 78s, 84s. But just like professional athletes, some professional athletes are good from the get-go. Some professional athletes, some footballers are Nick Dacos, where they come into the system
Davis.
and they're already the best player in the whole competition straight away. And they're just straight away in black type races. Whereas others, like the Smoking Romans, they take more time. They take a lot more work. And he's a good highlight for the benchmark system that he just worked his way through the grades. They placed him in really good races. And then this prep, because as a 6-year-old, he's only had 23 starts. So this prep, he's just taken it to the next level. And now he's at that level, but because we've been conditioned to think that he's a benchmark horse and a Pakenham Cup horse, we can't quite get our heads around that he can win a Group 1.
He's in the right hands to improve.
He is. I think he can. He'll run the trip. He likes Caulfield. He likes wet tracks, and he drops 4 kilos from winning the Turnbull. So he's one that I'm backing. And another one that
It's amazing to think a horse that ran 6th of 11 at Ballarat in April last year, beaten 5.5 lengths, goes on to be $4 favourite in Caulfield Cup. But right hands, right stable, drops in weight.
Yeah.
You'd be hard pressed to find a better weighted horse coming off a Group 1 Turnbull win into a Caulfield Cup, into a Group 1. Unbelievable. Gets map favours, gets through the wet in the right stable.
The market will find him because the market doesn't care that he got beaten 5 at Ballarat in the 78 last year. The market cares about looking at what his weight adjusted figure is, where he's going to end up on the speed map, and how he gets through the going, etc.
I love when the money comes from this camp as well. So that's going to be a huge one. The Turnbull didn't rate well because they went so slowly, which is a query. So the data guys might want to take it on, but the map guys might want to back. It's going to be really interesting to see what the market does with him. If he firms, he's going to be in the finish. Simple as that. Which way are you? So you like him?
I do. And I like Allegron.
Yes.
He missed the run in the Turnbull because he had an elevated temperature, but we've seen in the past, in the ATC Derby, he went 16 straight to 2,400 metres and was just nosed out by Hitotsu and Benno. He's won all with Benno. He recently beat Benno in the Kingston Town and fair square, mind you.
Yep.
So
maybe I thought Benno was slightly tougher run.
He's won one, right?
Oh,
he's a loomer.
That's my query with
Benno. He's a bit of a loomer, I reckon.
Yeah.
And he's another one. We talk about wide barriers traditionally in a Caulfield Cup, not that big a deal, but like incentivise went forward. This guy can't do anything but flop back.
Yep.
That's what he does. So he'll get too far back. Allegron, he's so clean-winded, like they're saying, he wants more than 2,400 metres. He's on a Cups path. He's a proper stayer. In my opinion, he is still the run of the VRC Derby when Hitotsu won. He sat 3 wide, no cover on speed. He was enormous. I think that he is the biggest danger to the favourite, and I'm happy to back them both.
I agree with you. I think I like both of those two, definitely. I think that's the right form, right? Cheers. I think that's the right form. Now, you go back to that ATC Derby in April. That was run on a heavy track. These two horses fought out to finish with Hitotsu, who could be an absolute freak, right? He could have been a star. That, I think, is the right form. He comes from Kingston Town, which I think is good form. Knight's Order obviously ran okay in that.
Yeah, Knight's Order gets the relative weight swing, but he was strong, Allegron.
I think they've got upside. Any concern with Allegron? You say he's a clean-winded horse, but he's 2,000 metres up to 2,400 metres with a setback into a grand final?
No.
I agree with you. I've got those two right in the mix. I'll probably spec 4 runners in this race.
Who are the other two?
Smoking Romans.
Yeah.
Rolls forward, map horse. I don't want to lose if he wins. And I'll be watching the market. Nonconformist, the other one. I loved his run last start. He peaked this day last year.
Wet track?
Got to be some issue.
Yeah.
But you don't know. So my numbers would be 10 Benno, 9 Allegron. I find them very hard to split. I've got to have Smoking Romans in the mix. Yeah. And Nonconformist for me. There's a few others. Like I think Jewess was a bit disappointing last start. Sults, slowly run race. You can make a case to say that it wasn't as bad as it looked. Gold Trip, hard to see Gold Trip turning the tables on weights.
Nah, I'm not sure he was given every chance last start. He should have gone forward and just sat 3 wide because they walked, and he was awaiting
you were keen on him.
certainty
Yeah, you were keen on him
that
last
day.
start.
But now he's won one race. He's carrying 57.5 in a Caulfield Cup. He gets a 7 kilo swing on a horse like Smoke and Romans. So,
Montefilia was playing the Caulfield Cup last year, wasn't she? But
awful
she gets
last start.
Yeah. Oh, no idea what to do with that. Numerians, a query this distance on a wet track.
Yeah.
We'll just go through a few runners.
Yeah, okay.
No compromises. Got some hope for me. Not the worst.
Yeah, well, he's one that's had a lead-up run at the trip at least.
Inspirational Girl was probably the run of the race in the Turnbull, in my
Don't
opinion.
reckon she'll stay.
I have a query. I don't mind the distance. I have a query on a wet track over 2,400 metres from barrier 1.
Yeah.
If she had drawn 8 and
It's
it was
not
a
to have your
soft,
first crack.
correct.
You know, that was her first crack 2,000 metres in the Turnbull, and they walked, and she was able to sprint home. First crack 2,400 metres on a heavy track. That ain't easy.
100%. The other two for the multiples, I concede Great House and Durston from those two camps. If Durston gets a run, they can figure and run top 4. So, my numbers there. I've got Speno on top and Allegra on shared, Smoking Romans and Nonconformist in for 4th. Salts, we both
Question off
line
the
up.
cuff.
Oh, here we go.
Which race are you looking more forward to, the Caulfield Cup or the Everest?
Everest.
Okay.
Yep.
Caulfield Cup, 1-1. There we go.
Yep.
It's because I'm betting. If I wasn't betting in either of them, I'd look more forward to a benchmark 78.
I don't really care, to be honest, about either race because I'm not that keen to bet into it. And we're punters at heart, so I'm more keen to back the benchmark 68 at Scone that I can have a bet in.
Apparently, it's on the front page of all the papers overseas, the Everest.
Yeah, apparently. Don't get me started. We head to race 10, the Moonga Stakes, Group 3, Salts. Ayrton comes out, runs his Sydney. We'll touch on that.
Yep.
You're with Bandersnatch here, who ties into Ayrton.
Are
you with him? Did I read
I've had
that
a
right,
doozy
or-
here. So Catalyst is the top pick, and I'm sort of sitting on the fence for now about Banderless, but I'm Bandersnatch, sorry. Banderless. It's Catalyst and Bandersnatch if they had a kid. But Catalyst, for me, this is the saying that really irks a lot of people. There's just a sense of timing about it. There's a sense of timing about
It's
Catalyst.
what you say when you don't know what to say.
Now, he's third up. He was dragged right back at Moonee Valley against the pattern. First up, it was a flat-out fitness run off a long spell. Then second up, he was dragged back again in the Testarossa, and he absolutely stomped the turf. He cut back to the inside, ran easily race fastest 8-4, and he was still strong through the line. It was inferior ground that day at Sandown. That's the race that Bandersnatch come through. It's the race Ayrton comes through.
Yep.
I Wish I Win came through that, started $2 in a Toorak. I know it was underwhelming, but it's still a good form race. Grievances won out of the race. He, from the yard that day, needed another run. He's ready to go third up now. The blinkers go on. He's drawn barrier 9. They're not going to drag him all the way back.
It's a real sense of time about him.
The blinkers went on first time at start 2.
Yeah.
He then won 5 in a row across the ditch, then came over. The blinkers were off when he got in that epic duel with Alligator Blood.
Oh,
At his best, he
good.
thumps these, but he's not his best, and he probably won't ever get there anymore. But I do think he's ready now at 1,400 metres with those shades going on, and I want to be with him.
You make a good case. I was keen to take on Ayrton a little bit. I was disappointed with his
Wet track.
wet track. Was
You were
was
disappointed
great.
with him first
No,
up?
I wasn't. But
Yeah.
he ties into all those others that meet him slightly better at the race, not much. But I
Yeah.
thought Bandersnatch was great. As you said, Catalyst got a chance.
Bandersnatch had Ayrton's back, which was handy.
True, but
Yeah.
still ran home second fastest final 200 metres of the
Yeah.
race outside the winner. I thought
Yeah.
the run was really good. He didn't mind it wet. So if it was
Yeah.
a genuine heavy 10, I would probably take Ayrton on. But that said, got a chance in Sydney.
That's why they're not. That's why they're going north, because
Correct.
the track's going to
Correct.
improve. Yeah.
So that's my query with that form a little bit. And I could be with Old Flame here. I'm not going to go crazy, but Old Flame, that race we touched on last week, absolute diabolical. I thought Carr fell asleep on him. I thought it was a very plain ride by Carr. She doesn't make many mistakes, and I thought she just got a bit asleep at the wheel. They caught up and crowded him and ended up going back to last around the home turn.
I liked the commentary, and I spoke of Dwayne Dunn, and he was really good in his assessment of races on 1,000 Guineas Day, and he was on Caulfield Guineas Day, and he's been in that position. So when he speaks, you listen.
What did he say?
He's being very honest about rides, and he was very honest about the ride of Jamie on Old Flame. He's in a better position to comment on it than me. I thought
Just a little bit.
yeah, I did think it was a little bit overplayed because they went fast early. She had no reason to half cart that horse because she was already one off. She had no reason to half cart it and face a bit of breeze because they were going. And then the brakes just went on so fast that she, in that split second, didn't react. But I thought
that was the mistake.
Yeah.
Right? It was that split
was
second
split
where
second.
all the other
And then
jockeys
they-
came
yeah.
out and put her in a pocket, and she was
it just happened. So it was a ludicrous anchor drop.
Oh, it was
It
amazing.
was ludicrous. But I thought he was plain.
He still ran the fastest 200 metres of the race when clear. So for me, that tells
I
you
think he's looking for further.
should get through the wet. He might be looking for further now. That's a query on the backup. But if it's an absolute slogfest, I think he'll be strong late. So I think he'll get a better run in transit. Car's off. And yeah, he's the one I want to be with. Just brings slightly different form as well. So
Is car off now a positive?
no, I didn't mean it was a positive. But Barry did run really well on this horse 2 back. So Barry knows the horse really well. So
that's handy.
I always love jockeys that have ridden the horse and ridden it well previously. Getting on
absolutely.
or whatnot. Got an affiliation with horses. So
Yeah.
Barry rode it in that Shannon behind Surf Dancer, beat Ellsberg. Ellsberg came out and won dead heat. So the form's good.
Yep.
Let's get to some wash up, and then we've got some back to school coming up later before we touch on Sydney. Now, Wednesday, 1,000 Guineas Day. Race 6 won by a session. We talked about that. BSP $81 Sults. That was 59.7% better than top tote, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think the top tote was like, what, 49?
48, 50, something like that.
I think he was fixed like 38, so yeah, that's
$81 Betfair starting price. But in that race, we had 3 horses get beat that all traded under $1.51. So Eluding traded $1.51. Munamek, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Was that good?
Yeah.
$1.50, and Pesquero, who loomed up along the inside at $1.14 traded at. So
what did the one I'm backing? He's the real deal. What was he paying on the corner? I reckon it was about 70 million. Good bet that.
I'd lay that. 4 runners traded in the one race as well in Caulfield race 9. Cerealia Miss, Belplacer, Dynasties, and Cuban Link all traded as low, under $2 in the same race. Cerealia Miss came out and won that at a BSP of $23 or $22.
I saw Corona Lad got pretty short in run as well. He loomed up like he was going to put him away, but just peaked on that wet track.
100%. Yeah, they tweeted about that as well from the Betfair account. So there was some sick beats. Corona Lad traded at $1.02, had $668 matched at $1.02, or below $1.04, sorry.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yep.
Let's get to Sydney. Let's head to Randwick. Drying track. Obviously, the few races got called off last Saturday. They run here. We talk of the Silver Eagle and the Yank Stakes. We'll start with the Sydney Stakes. You're against one here and in the Congo?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to have a bet in the race. That looks terribly difficult. But in the Congo, he just gave up too easily first up at Moonee Valley. I know he got caught wide.
Awful run.
Yeah.
Awful run in transit.
He had a terrible run in transit, but I'm not sold now on him 1,000 to 1,200 metres with he might find the front, but he's going to have to work to get there.
Bit of pressure.
He's going to have to work really hard to get there. I think he'll be really vulnerable at the end of the trip. I think currently fixed odds is around $6. I think that's too short.
Who do you think can beat him?
No idea.
No idea. It's one of those races. I've got Kementari on top, deserved favourite. Brings Everest form into this, really. Remember a time when in her time ran a faster time in the Sydney Stakes than Everest? Like, it shows you how much better the depth was back then, that now you've got a $1.90 favourite, $2 favourite in an Everest, and then you couldn't imagine any of these getting close to Nature Strip.
Oh, no.
So
No way.
Kementari on top for me. He doesn't mind a wet, drying track, third up, set to peak, $2 million race if you don't mind. I think he's the one I want to be with.
The absolute Fujitsu $2 million bucker.
Amazing.
Sydney Stakes.
Amazing. $15 million, the Everest. What a race. Race 7. Did you catch the barrier draw the other night, mate? Glued to your TV?
Nah. I was in the room, but I was behind closed doors when it happened. VIP.
Where? I don't know.
No, you know how they tweeted that betting's off for 18 hours and then it goes behind closed doors?
That was bizarre.
They said apparently that happens every year, but I've not seen that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway.
Bizarre. You wonder how much turnover they lose. I could probably get some data on that, but no one betting on the race for, 10 hours or something?
Yeah, surely people like.
Bizarre.
Yeah, anyway.
Let's get to the race. Short answer. Can Nature Strip be beaten?
Well, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, he can.
Now, what's the argument for and against him?
Well, the argument for is he's the best sprinter in the world.
Yes.
So he's here at a sprint
It's a fair
trip.
argument.
Yeah. He's here off just absolutely sending them packing
Yeah.
over in England. And that was actually,
And
in terms
first
of
up.
his overall figures out of a race, it was actually the best of his career.
No.
Yeah.
Beating a bunch of UK walkers.
Consistency wise,
That's amazing.
he needs to, something needs to really elevate and he needs to have a bit of an off day. Can it happen? Yes. Well, I think he's $2.30 at the moment, which means he loses more than 50% of the time.
Do you think he does lose more than 50% of the time in this race?
Yeah, this is where I'm
So we're talking value here.
Yeah,
percentages.
yeah. This is where I'm probably going to contradict myself because if you run this race 10 times, he wins at more than 5.
So,
But I don't want to bet. I just don't want to bet. I just
is
want
a
to stay out of it. I just want to watch. I know you'd rather 12 than 1 for him.
yes, we'll
But
talk
you'd
about
rather
values
8
in a
than
second.
12. I just wonder if there is some speed underneath where
So
he
let's talk
might
about-
get
let's
caught.
talk about the map.
He might
Eduardo?
get caught 3 wide.
Eduardo, Shades of Rose, Nature Strip looked a 3.
Yeah,
Right? And the tactics.
but Joyful Fortune's another one that can kick up.
I don't know if they will kick up and lead first time.
They won't
1200,
lead, but they'll make sure that someone has to
pressure?
work to come
Yeah.
across. Yeah.
But I don't think that'll bring about Joyful Fortune's undoing. I think if they kick him up,
definitely.
because 1200 has got to be a big concern for Joyful Fortune. But Nature Strip will work across, follow Eduardo across, and then what J-Mac does from there is going to be the interesting thing, and what Nash or Willer does on Eduardo. Does Nash keep Eduardo in that position and make Nature Strip work across? And does Shades of Rose take a sit? Like the tactics in the
I
first
think-
200
yeah.
metres are going to be really, really
It's an
interesting.
interesting one because the prize money's so good down to 6 or something. But I think more than ever, it's a funny thing to say because he's won so many Group 1s and he's so good. But I think more than ever, they're going to know where he is from out there.
Do they ride to beat him? Because it's
Oh,
$2
maybe.
favourite.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often these days. And it's a bugbear of mine. There's not much competitive riding these days.
How many things can McDonald win? He wins everything.
That's amazing, isn't
Is it a time when they just say, you know what, you're not going to win this one? Who
Oh,
knows?
I'd love to see it. I'd love
Yeah,
to
as
see
would
it.
I.
Just,
Who knows? But there's so much ambiguity though. I'm just happy to watch.
but you go back to the Everest last year, Eduardo took a sit, which surprised a lot of people.
Yeah.
So the tactics can be
I'm
fascinating.
providing no clarity here, so sorry. But
No, that's all right. I agree with you. I think Nature Strip, you run this race 10 times, he wins it 5 times. And I will back him based on that alone. I
Yeah.
won't go too hard, but I think his value at 230.
yeah,
I mean, if you're getting 230, I don't know, why is the drift a barrier?
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised he's drifted Thursday morning.
Yeah. I know I contradicted myself with the value, but sometimes as well, you've got
You got to feel. to
Yeah,
it.
you've got to trust intuition as well.
Yep.
And that's something that is,
You can't teach that either.
yeah, it's intangible.
Yep. Now, if there was a danger, who is it?
Well, I was a little bit disappointed with the sectionals and stuff coming out of Lost and Running's win last up, but he does look like he's got more in the tank.
That made me think Nature Strip was going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah.
When there's half a length between.
And the 4
of 'em.
Jacquinot, I know his barrier's no good, but
Yeah, I'd rather him draw
he's
12
right
than
untapped.
2.
Oh, that was huge. His
Him
last
drawing-
200 in
yeah.
the Golden Rose.
Yep, thank you very much.
Yeah, well
That
played.
was nice.
Yeah, so yeah, he could win. He could.
How you
win.
reckon he's the danger?
I'll say so. Yeah,
Yep.
he's fresh.
He's
blood.
got X Factor,
He's
right?
fresh blood. Yeah.
I don't mind that. We saw Yes win it.
Yep.
Fits a similar mould. He's just got a.
Masked Crusader. What do you reckon?
I think Masked Crusader ran second in this race, obviously last year. I think he's a danger, and I think if there are 3 horses to beat him,
He nearly got Nature Strip last year.
I know.
He nearly gets a lot of things.
Lost and Running, Masked Crusader, Jacquinot, the only 3 that can win outside of Nature Strip.
Yeah, fair enough.
So we're not saying too much there. I'll be back in Nature Strip. I might have a little trifecta with those 3 or 4 or something like that.
Yep.
But some multiples. But yes, that's it for that. Really interested to see what the market does with Nature Strip on Saturday. Head to betfair.com.au, Betfair Live. It's all there. Really good fluctuations, great info. So it's all free. Thanks to Betfair. Now, race 8, Silver Eagle. it's running here. Mr. Mozart steps up as favourite. He obviously got abandoned last week and got moved to this Saturday. Completely different race. And we saw this with Wednesday with Gloaming. I was against the winner, Fast and Furious, or whatever it's called.
Sharp and
Smart, Fast and Furious. Sharp and Smart. Because it was 4 weeks up to 1,800 metres, 14 to 18.
Yeah.
And the mile back onto a lesser wet track made it.
The funny thing is when you're looking through the Silver Eagle, now you look through everything's form, you're like, oh, geez, it's 5 weeks between runs. Oh, this is 4 weeks. But it's like every horse.
Yeah, correct.
Even every horse that trialled is an extra week.
Yeah, it's bizarre,
So it's a tough one to look at. But usually I'd just pen it. But there's 3 that I like.
Oh, go on. Talk to me.
All right. Well, I'm sticking with Mr. Mozart. I said I was probably going to back him and Lavish Girl if it went ahead last week. But I sort of, to be honest, I half-assed the race because I was convinced it wasn't going to run. I can't believe they got through that many races, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it didn't run. And out of that, I thought, Lavish Girl, she's one, it's probably a negative another week. She needs to be fit and up on speed. Whereas Mr. Mozart, he's got no second up wins. He's got some good fresh form. He was really good fresh. I reckon 5 weeks for him is actually not that big of a negative.
It's not a bad shot.
He was keen first up, so then you could maybe argue that 5 weeks again he might be keen again, but I think he should lead from barrier 1. And what the inside's doing right now would be interesting, and that's why I'd like him to lead, because then he can lead and pick a lane. There's not the only other one that comes across is Lavish Girl. So I think he can kick up and lead, and I just loved how he fought back through the line last start. If you look at that last start he comes through, Ellsberg, Kementari, a host of other horses that are better than these. So it's clearly the best form line. Yep. And he's beaten many of these in the past. Valana he's beaten, what's that other horse? Lock Eagle or whatever.
Yep.
Is that what it's called?
Lock Eagle,
Yeah, so I'll back him, but there's 2 others I want to spec. I know you spoke about the trial of Valana last week. I went back and rewatched that trial. I just thought, geez, he looks a big improver. He's won 4 from 7. So he's really untapped.
I've had a bet on Valana to win the Golden Eagle at 50s.
Yeah.
Loves it wet, 2 from 3 on a heavy.
Yeah.
So I was probably more keen last week.
I reckon we'll still be on a soft track.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It'll still be rain affected first up, won't be the worst.
It maps really well.
Yep.
It'll just tag in those 2.
Yep.
And the other one that I think maps really well off the recent jump outs is Coda Healy. Now, Coda Healy needs to make up a couple of lengths twice on Valana last preparation. Got spanked by Mr. Mozart, had excuses. He got beaten by Lock Eagle. Like, he needs to turn it around, but his 2 trials this preparation are infinitely better than his other trials. His other trials leading, he's got good fresh form. He's getting his ears worked off in the trials. He beat Swiss Exile or Sweet Ride in a recent trial who was having a mid-prep jump out, and he's really a fast horse who was getting asked, and he was cruising in front.
Yep.
So I think he can show up. He's a massive price. I'll have something on him as well.
John O'Shea Gallopers are trialling really well, probably the last 2 months, to be honest. They're trialling the house down John O'Shea runners. They've been a bit hit and miss first up, but
all right.
Well,
he went up like 50, $60.
Lovely
I thought,
trial.
well, I have something on that.
Yep. On the heavy, I was pretty keen to be with number 10 here in Waterford last week. I just thought the 1,300 metres back on an absolute bog track would suit him. He'd be a line chaser. He'd be running home really well. The extra week freshener might actually not be the worst as well.
Yeah, I think so.
I think I'll give him a big chance. I give the toppy Mr. Mozart a chance, and Valana's obviously in the mix as well. But Mr. Mozart and Waterford for me there in a Tommy 2 play in the Silver Eagle. We head to 2 more races. The 5 Diamonds Prelude for the 5-year-olds, 1,500 metres. You're with Ayrton here.
Yeah, well, it's got an asterisk on it because I want to just see what the track's doing.
Can't have an asterisk, mate.
Why not?
You can.
Well, I'd say that he's on top if I did my selections now, but
yes.
I wouldn't put my hard-earned on it until right before the race.
What do you want to see?
I want to see what the times are doing and what the track is truly rated. Yeah, because he's not a wet tracker. He's up here because Melbourne's too wet. He's failed on wet tracks before. The stable don't accept on wet tracks because he doesn't like it. So he had the measure of Ellsberg when they met as 3-year-olds up in Queensland. Post Spider Bite, he hasn't quite got back to the level he was, but he's a bloody good horse. And I thought he was really good first up in the Testarossa. He got there too early and he faced the breeze. A high rating race, they went fast. Thought his run was excellent. So I could back him to beat Ellsberg, depending on the track conditions.
I'm with Ellsberg. Brings best form into the race. Do you want to have dinner on this or not?
Nah. You want to have dinner on asterisk bets?
I want.
You still owe me a quarter pounder. Kementari flogged that Godolphin thing, mate.
Kementari.
Give it an absolute telling. Kementari, sorry. Kemel Passer. Yeah. They're both special Ks.
I'm with Ellsberg. Brings best form. They reckon top ranks Cox Plate chance or whatever. Well, Ellsberg dead heated with it.
When they crossed the line, I was furious because I was like, no. There's
It can't
no way
happen.
that he's a better horse than him. The way
correct.
that Top Rank loomed into it, he only gave him half a kilo.
What happened to top rank there? That was odd.
Yeah, I think the 2 weeks between he pulled up real short from a gallop the other day, so he's not okay. So hopefully everything's okay. Okay with him. Like he's not going on this preparation.
No.
So he's got some soundness issues, and you know he loomed into the race. Maybe he just didn't let down as well as he could 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks between runs.
Away
but on the corner, I was like, "Oh, you're a genius!" And then Ellsberg kept kicking. I'm like, "But he's better than you."
Yeah, amazing.
But anyway, yeah.
Amazing. I think that's the right form, to be honest.
Yeah.
Beat hinged, heavy track form, loves it wet. The wetter the better for Ellsberg. I was surprised. I thought he was a freshie. He won 4 from 5 prior. I just thought we said this about his first up. He hasn't trialled as well.
Yeah.
But maybe it was genius by
Isn't it?
Gerald
Yeah.
Ryan to get him fitter and target something like the Epsom.
Yeah.
And it paid dividends.
Well
So great training performance, and I think he's the horse to beat in the 5 Diamonds Prelude. I'm not keen to lay anything. Keep an eye on Sabark down the bottom there. Got a bit of talent. Our Playboy needs it wet. Yep. Rustic Steel can improve up to this trip.
Yeah, he's had a mixed prep. He got scratched a couple of times. So I thought
good
he
fresh
was
and
gonna be
average
good.
second up. And then,
he missed a run.
Let's get to the Yank Stakes, and I was very keen on this is race 10, Group 3, Yank Stakes for over 1,600 metres. I was very keen Fine Point last Saturday on the absolute bottomless track. I thought mapped perfectly, rolled forward, on speed, wet tracker, great career record. Only missed top 3 finish once, and that was on debut when charging home over 1,200 metres. This horse, query for me is a firmer track, but that said, I'm happy to be with her. She opened $10 or $11 last week. I thought it was an absolute mozza. She came in about 6. And came in about 6. I've never said
How
that
good's
word.
calling something a mozza when you after the race didn't go ahead?
I don't think I've ever used that word either. I don't know where they came from. But she's $6, $7 now on betfair.com.au. I think that's about right, but I think she'll run a rip and race again. I think she's the horse to beat. Happy to have something each way. I think we're both against Polly Gray here, and we mentioned this off air. Firmer track does not suit.
No.
I was against her on an absolute bog track last Saturday, and she's an absolute bog tracker, best wet tracker in the country, probably. She gets on a firmer surface. She's an extra week between runs, and her trial, you can tell us about the trial.
Well, this is one for your camp where it talks about where we can highlight not having a hard and fast rule, because she's 108 rater and she's only carrying half a kilo more than the next best, which is like 90 odd or something like that.
Yep.
Like she's so well weighted in terms of
Half
to
a
her
kilo better
benchmark rating that's what the market's respecting.
She's a half a kilo. She actually carries the same weight as Honey Creeper, who's 78 handicap rating.
So there you go.
That's amazing.
It's 32 rating points or 30 rating points. So, but the trial, she's not that much better than them to just win first up at 1,600 metres. I know she got the Zaki form and stuff like that, but the trial, if she wins after the way she trialled, which was just so bad.
It was a very average trial.
Yeah, like she was asked, didn't respond. If she wins off that, well, then there's just no point in watching trials. Seriously.
We'll wait and see. James McDonald takes the ride on Grace and Harmony. Anything into that?
Yeah, well, she's one I could entertain because the winkers go on. She does her best in sort of moderately run races. So with him in the saddle from that draw, if she can just sort of get in that running line midfield, not be too far off him, she can sprint. And what I do like about her is the fact that she's got run spaced, because her best run this preparation, the one that everyone's been sort of chasing the dragon of, is first up off a long spell when she ran the fastest last 4 and 200 metres of the day off a slow tempo. And then one that she outsprinted, a stablemate come out and won again. And that was a fresh effort. So I think being kept fresh is going to be good for her. I mentioned the winkers going on. So she's one that I could entertain, Grace and Harmony.
There you go. Anything else? You happy with that?
Nah. We're just both against Polly.
Polly Gray. We're both against it. Let's talk about barrier draws in back to school. Now, barrier draws, we've touched a lot. We spoke for 2 weeks on speed maps.
Yeah.
But the importance of barrier draws, and the reason why I want to ask you this, Salts, because Nature Strip comes out, draws 12. We see the Channel 9 News report that it's a horror draw.
Did they?
Yeah.
What, Heath's come out and said Nature Strip?
I think it was New South Wales. I saw it on the tweet.
I didn't know Heath was into racing.
So someone came out and said, Channel 9 said it was a horror barrier draw.
Yeah.
Now, talk to us about barrier draws, tracks, certain horses. The reason why I ask you, obviously, Nature Strip, barrier 12, you'd much rather draw 12 for a horse like that than barrier 1.
Yes, definitely. Even though last start he drew inside and then hunted up and relaxed and finished
He's a better
off.
horse now.
Yeah, he is. Traditionally, I was so keen on him to win last year's Everest because he drew just outside Eduardo. They weren't far outside, but he'd drawn outside, so you knew he was going to roll across. It is a bit of a similar situation this year, but there is a little bit more speed underneath. But he like for keen going horses, drawing wide, fantastic, because they can sort of get keen and take their time to get across. So the barrier draw and knowing the style of runner.
The horse, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
and knowing the style of runner is important as well. A lot of it intermingles with speed maps, but if I use this weekend at Caulfield for an example, and something that gets said a lot but doesn't quite often get executed a lot by a lot of punters, wide draws from the Caulfield shoot, for example. They're actually a positive because the market can overplay the draw, but they've got such a long run and only one bend. There's a horse I'm going to back on the weekend in race 6, Never Standing Still, who's a wet tracker way up in grade, but has drawn out. And I think it's a positive on the weekend at Caulfield from those sprint races to be drawn out and sort of either lead off the fence or find that running line. So the start point is obviously really important for the barriers and how long they've got to the first turn and the style of horse.
Now, my biggest take on this is the market and how the market reacts. We've seen Nature Strip drift on Thursday morning. Whether that's because of the barrier draw, I don't know. But like you said, you made a very salient point around outside barriers. The market can overplay the importance of those barriers and you actually get value for those runners.
Yeah.
You also got like starting point, 1,600 metres at Randwick. In a race like a Doncaster, wide barriers have got a much better record than inside barriers.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's important. There's various websites you can look at percentages and winning chances where horses draw. So that's always a good starting point as well. But you've got to pick the horse and what will suit the horse. And it's a case-by-case scenario, and I can't stress that enough.
Like Brutal in a Doncaster, he drew out and was able to just roll across. Like it actually helps. Another one...
Because the shoot start as well.
Yeah. We've got the Melbourne Cup coming up, and there's, is it 20 or 24?
24, mate.
24.
No emergencies.
Oh, yeah. So 24 horses.
Get the sub roll and
bloody hell, he's drawn 24. It's 1,700 metres until they have to go around a corner. So it beat Surprise Baby one year, but still, it's not that big a deal.
And it probably won Ver and Declare Melbourne Cup. And,
So we're actually sticking it to ourselves here, but still,
they are important,
overall, depending on the start point, you need to learn where to place the emphasis.
And it's all about maps and delving into it a bit further. Don't just look at the marble and say,
yeah,
nah,
exactly.
You've got to actually do the homework because it might suit others. All right, time for best bets and best lays. I don't really have a best bet this week, mate. I'm pretty soft. It's pretty...
Yeah, well, your lay streak ended last week.
No, it didn't.
I told you, if you make your lay of the weekend a race that's almost certain to not go ahead and you don't have a backup, that's it, brother.
What about Sharp and Smart? Fast and Furious.
Do they carry over?
Sharp and Smart. No, that's what I thought
Fast
you were going
and Furious carried over.
Sharp and Smart. I was
too
like...
fast, too furious.
I laid it, but I laid it on a heavy 10 over 1,800 metres, and it came out and won.
It was only on a heavy 8.
Yeah, on an improving heavy 8 on over 1,600 metres. Yeah. So don't hold that against me.
Well, my lay of the weekend is race 10, number 1 at Randwick, Poly Grey.
I'm with you.
If it wins, I'll stop watching trials.
I'm with you.
And my best of the weekend is Randwick race 4, Cadre Dune Wah. He's airborne at the moment. I thought his run last start, he was beaten by Grove Ferry, who he gave 3 kilos to. He was forced to work early. Then he sat outside the leader for the duration of 2,400 metres. The leader died in the arse. He got to the front at the top of the straight. And then when he was headed by Grove Ferry, he fought back again.
Yeah.
So I think 2,600 metres, no worries. If he covers up, I know that, like, Stockman is coming through on paper a better race, but I think Cadre Noir is a better horse.
Love it, mate. Love it. I think you make a great case. That's all for this week. Huge week of racing. Thanks for joining me, Salts. We'll be back to do it all again next week on Layback with Betfair.
Gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-858-858.